this is going to be a little bit harder to sneak into the house. What's going on, everyone? Today I'm here with the brand new Traxxas Ultimate RC Hauler, and it's pretty obvious where the name came from. Now, if you remember, Traxxas actually released this as a special edition, only available through Snap-on a while back, but you could never pick it up as a general customer. But now we've got this. Now, I don't have all of the details of the Snap-on one because, again, it just wasn't widely available. So we're going to go over everything about this new version that you can pick up today. As you can see, it is a 6x6, but it is not the same as the TRX6 with the AMG body on it. This is considerably longer, both in overall length and in wheelbase. The frame rails are completely different, and the wheelbase from the front axle to that intermediate axle is much longer. Now, this is a full-featured TRX, so it's got the portal axles, locking and unlocking differentials on all three axles, and the 2-speed. So if you like hitting buttons, this has got all of them available. Starting with the outward appearance, the rear bed, obviously the focal point of this truck, the main purpose being able to haul things. And this has got plenty of room for that. Now, it is said that it's a perfect fit for the Vortex, which I have a couple of, and I took this thing out and already did some running and some hauling with it. The Vortex do fit perfect. There's adjustable wheel chocks here on the bed. You can move those to fit the wheelbase to match your Vortex. Since the Vortex does come in a new, larger, longer wheelbase, that helps change that up a little bit. Right out of the box though, dropping my Vortex, either the Corvette or the Supra on here was perfect. It does have a slotted design around each of the wheel chocks, and it comes with some O-rings in the parts bag that this truck includes, and that is so that you can actually like strap the tires down to the bed so that it just becomes rock solid. But if you're driving it around kind of pavement princess style, there's no need for that. It sits on there pretty well. These wheel chocks do a good job of holding those in place. But if you're not going to use it to haul around a Vortex, which I assume that many of you are not, you're probably going to haul around another 4x4 that you likely have. And this still has plenty of room for that. To give you just some overall dimensions, going from the back side of this headache rack to the tail end of the bed is right at 23 inches long. From inside of the rub rails to each other, you're about 8 3/4. But if you go outside of the bed to outside of the bed, you're closer to about 9 5/8. So that'll fit most vehicles that are, in the 1/10 scale range. Your tires may, sit on top of these rub rails, but they're probably going to fit fine. And you can still use these wheel chocks as tie down points if you want to really secure it, especially if you're going to try and take this truck out on a trail while carrying, even if you're just going from the parking lot out to wherever your like base camp area is for your, crawling adventures of the day. Again, it is a TRX6-like drivetrain underneath, so the off-road ability is going to be there. Yeah, it's got a lot more belly, and you can see it's got, these fuel tanks and toolboxes under there that would get you hung up if you were really trying to off-road this. It's got a nice big front bumper, but again, off-road clearance, not ideal. Breakover angle, also not optimized, but that's not really the point. However, if you just want to take it off-road to get where you're going, lock the diffs and take off. It's going to do just fine. And I think you could put a decent amount of weight on the back of this and not be overly worried about the drivetrain. Obviously, these TRX axles have proved themselves with their durability over time. And if you need another size reference, I've got my 73-mile-an-hour TRX6 here, and even with the big splitter on the front end, you can set it on the bed here, and the rear axle still sits right on the rear of this bed. So that gives you an idea just how big this thing is. You're gonna be able to haul just about whatever you want. I'm not sure if this has heavier duty springs to help compensate for the obvious payload that this is going to haul. It doesn't have a lot of preload on the springs, and you can put a decent amount of force back here without seeing a huge drop. Now, even though it's obviously made to be towing, the tires are still nice and pliable. I believe that these are the same tires from the G500 TRX4. They're 4.5 inches tall or so, and I believe that the wheel is actually a 2.2 rather than a standard 1.9. These wheels have a perfectly fitting style, as you would expect, and they're actually finished in a black chrome, which all of the bright work on this truck is. If it didn't quite look chrome, it's because it's not. The side fuel tank steps, the toolbox, this front bumper that you have on the front here with its D-ring or shackle mounts, everything finished in that black chrome. Another cool feature of this truck is that it is absolutely covered in LEDs. They're everywhere. It's got headlights and amber corners up front, 5 amber LEDs across the top of the cab, 5 red across the back of the headache rack. Then you've got 3 LEDs down each side of this rear bed, 2 ambers and 1 red, and then 5 red taillights across the back. I was out running this closer to dusk, and it really sold the look of it. It's nice to see that level of a light kit coming in this truck right out of the box. We talked a little bit about the drivetrain, but I want to show you here. You can see that it has this carrier bearing right here, and that is just an intermediate point. So there's a drive shaft that comes out of the transmission to the carrier bearing, and then you have another drive shaft that goes from that to that intermediate axle. Just helps keep your driveline angles in check a little bit better and helps with stability, therefore strength of those drive shafts also. Pulling the body off is done with 4 body clips, 2 on the roof and 2 on the hood. When you remove the body, there is a LED pigtail here that if you want to completely remove this, you need to disconnect. Then underneath of the body, you see very familiar TRX platform items. You do have the battery tray up front that connects the nice molded front inner fenders. The battery tray, the same that you've seen before. So the size of batteries that fit, you can pretty much figure will fit in this. However, it doesn't have the typical TRX4 or 6 battery clamp down. Since the bed covers a decent portion of the battery compartment, it's got a strap across it that you use 2 of the body pins. So you have to pull those body pins, and then you can actually physically remove or swivel up that battery clamp. I was running this earlier and already pulled those body pins out when I pulled my battery out, but standard Traxxas plug, XL5 HV, you can run 2S or 3S, 21 turn motor. All that's the same. Even though it's made for hauling, it still has low gear to get you through where you need to if you're pulling something overly heavy. But all the same micro servos in all the same places that you've seen before. The light controller is already pre-installed and mounted here just behind the shift servo on the driver's side. No real surprises underneath of this cab. The bed, again, it's really the focal point, and it's really well constructed. Nice big molded pieces. This headache rack is super stable. You can pretty much lift the whole truck up by it, especially when the cab's on it. It adds even a little bit more rigidity to it. And then it's tied in throughout the actual chassis setup. It's all filled in as well, so there's no big gaps that you can just see underneath of it. It looks like one nice solid piece from front to back, really well finished off. Now, as you can probably tell, this bed is not a rollback. It doesn't tilt, anything like that. It's mounted several places along the side. Obviously that would be cool, but would also add a lot of complexity. Now, as far as options for this truck, they do include a winch mounting plate in the parts bag. So with this piece here, you can purchase the optional Traxxas winch. Then you mount the winch to this plate, and this plate mounts to the bed in this area. That way you can add that bit of realism to be able to winch whatever vehicle you are attempting to carry into place. Again, it's a scale detail. You could very easily just pick it up and put it on there, whatever it is. But still, if you back this thing up to a ledge or a curb or some sort of natural feature and you can winch it on, have fun. Now, since this thing is the Ultimate RC Hauler, decided I needed to go take it out and do some hauling. Since I had the Traxxas Fortec Corvette, seemed like a great opportunity to take it out and go do some running. But rather than go run by myself, I also went to my local hobby shop and picked up the Traxxas Supra Vortec so that I could bring a friend along and we could do some racing. Having the second car was also handy to use as a camera car. And while we didn't exactly stretch the legs of its off-road abilities, it was still fun, and racing the Vortex around even more fun. We shot a bunch of video while we were out parking lot bashing, and I'll tag that on to the end. But as far as my final thoughts on the Ultimate RC Hauler, it was something I totally unexpected. I wouldn't have even guessed it. But now that it's here, it's cool to see. I feel like I could see myself outfitting this bed with trail tools and a charger setup, maybe a Bluetooth speaker, just all the things that I need and I want to take out with me, but don't always want to carry. I feel like I could make a permanent home for it on the back of this. Maybe. If you guys have any other project ideas or vehicles you think that I should just have to haul around on here, drop them in the comments below. Before we cut to the running footage, hit the like button if you enjoyed this. Subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as they get uploaded, and enjoy the running footage. Now that we've showed that it's the Ultimate RC Hauler, it's time to race some Vortex. It seems like a good excuse. Brought Joe out here. Gonna set up a little course and race these new Vortex around. Go. Damn, Matt. Back to racing.